Hi, everybody. I am originally from the GTA. I'm here in South Florida, so I don't have to deal with the clouds and I never have to pick up a snow shovel again in my life. So I'm Lauren Cohen. I am a cross-border lawyer, realtor, and investment expert. There are some people I've worked with that are on this call today. I'm also, as a licensed realtor, I chair the International Investment Committee for EXP Commercial. I'm a best-selling author of a book. I just took it out of my background because I felt that I wanted to be a Zionist for my Toronto peeps, which I am every minute of every day. I'm a franchise broker. I'm a global keynote speaker, and I'm a single mom. And he's not an almost teenager anymore because he turned 13 on Saturday, and two dogs. So I don't really know how old they are because, you know, that dog year thing. So as I mentioned, I'm originally from Toronto. I wanted to have a life, a more impactful life, and have more opportunity to impact others. So I moved to the US almost 23 years ago, and I've never looked back. I became a dual citizen in 2012, and now I help other people invest in the US and obtain immigration visas. And our signature program is called How to Immigrate Through Real Estate. So this is where I am today. As I said, I've secured my assets and I have a 7-figure business. So what I was going to do is, because I did not prepare a summary of the slides, I'm just going to scroll through them to the ones that I feel are going to be most relevant to you guys. And really what I'm hoping is to answer some questions, because it seems that that tends to be what people like the most, because people want to know, how do you invest in the US, right, Allison? How do you access a visa? What are the benefits of a visa? And so on and so forth. So I don't know what Tammy's crowd today is most interested in, but I'm happy to try to answer any questions, bearing in mind that, of course, I am a lawyer both in Ontario and in the US, and I cannot answer any legal questions, and none of what I'm going to share is legal advice. Got to make that disclaimer, so otherwise the Law Society comes after me. Some of you may know of Mike Wolf, one of the most successful real estate investors, Canadian real estate investors, who has never invested in a property in Canada, doesn't even own one for himself, and he calls me his secret weapon. You may know Denise Evans. She does a lot of networking and a big real estate investor, and I helped her get everything set up. As a matter of fact, here's the thing she mentioned, that it was like 3 a.m. in Israel, and she was having a panic attack about a closing in Orlando, and I helped walk her through it, even though it was 3 a.m. in Israel when this all happened. We have created a comprehensive company called Strategic REI. I'm actually going to turn the screen off because I think it's distracting. Strategic REI is a one-stop business in a box formula. So what happens is, a lot of Canadians come to us as real estate investors trying to figure out, how do I fit in? How do I get into the US? Well, there's two avenues of our business. One is, I just want to invest, like Allison, who doesn't want a visa right now, let's say, but does invest in the US. And so she needs to set up the proper structure, because if you don't set up the proper structure, you're subject to double taxation and legal liability. And remember, in the US, it's not like Canada, because you have to think about people wanting to sue you. They will do whatever it takes to find a way to get money out of you. Okay. By the way, I just sent a form. They have this thing called Florida Treasure Hunt. And you know how you get all those letters, and we don't get them as much in Ontario, that say, oh, I can get you this money from the government and that money and this, and you have unclaimed funds. I just got a check for $4,800 or $4,600 because I filled out a form, and all the lawyers wanted to do it and charge me like 40%. I thought, I think if they can do it, I can do it. So I got $4,400. It was kind of nice. So sometimes those things work, but the reality is, at the end of the day, you have to be super careful when you're investing in the US or moving to the US or even contemplating doing anything in the US, because it's a completely different animal than Canada, right? And it's very litigious. So all of my documents and agreements are reviewed by my litigation colleague before I share them, because at the end of the day, even though I'm maybe the best contract lawyer ever, I'm not a litigator, and I don't think about that lawsuit. So always think about that. Do not invest in US real estate individually. That is the worst thing that you can do for yourself, unless all you're planning to do is to go and visit and stay in your property. But if you're planning to use it for investment in any way, shape, or form, and earn any kind of income or return on your investment, then you need to set up the proper structure, which is usually a 2-entity structure, so that you protect yourselves from this double taxation and legal liability. So one entity protects you from legal liability, and the second entity protects you from double taxation, generally speaking. If you want to invest in real estate and access a visa, then you get a social security number, you build your business in the US, you can run your business, you can even build your real estate business in the US. Or maybe you want to expand your current business, or maybe you're like somebody who said they just had their first US client, I can't remember who that, oh, Andrew, and maybe you want to expand that into a bigger, playing bigger in the US. And I have many clients like that, started off just doing events in Canada, and then they started doing one-offs in America, and then it was like, okay, I'm making so much money down there. How do I make this more kosher and legal so that I don't have issues when I cross the border? Okay, and most of the time, as a passive real estate investor, you're not going to have issues. But it's once you go back and forth across the border more and more that they start, red flagging you, and all of a sudden you're turned away. So what happens when you're turned away? Well, it's better you should call me before you get turned away, because I'm going to help prevent you from getting turned away. And we're going to get that little thing in your passport, that little stamp, the visa, and everything's going to be kosher and legal, and you're not going to be questioned. If it does happen, we can fix it after the fact. But like with anything, it's a little more expensive and time consuming if you don't do it preventatively, right? It's like having an insurance policy. So basically what I'm selling is a dream of living and working and running a business and investing in real estate in the US, not just Florida, although I am in Florida, which happens to be the place where most Ontarians invest out of anywhere in the US. And then we have Texas and Arizona and South Carolina, Michigan and Ohio are very popular. Stay away from California, because that's, first of all, it's super expensive, and you've just got all of these additional challenges and costs and expenses, and even managing your entities in California is about double the price of anywhere else. So we have created this one-stop solution that basically takes you all the way through from A to Z, from like, I don't know what I want to do, but I want to invest in real estate, to, okay, now I have my visa and I can pretty much do whatever I want. And the other option is, okay, I just want to invest in real estate. What do I do? And we'll help you create a strategy to accomplish your goals, whether it be short-term cash flow or long-term ROI on the sale of the property. And each state has different advantages and disadvantages. You're not going to invest in Ohio for huge cash flow. I'm sorry, for huge return when you sell. But you're not going to invest in, let's say, somewhere like Florida for a huge return, or at least you weren't until recently, because now the numbers are crazy. But you're going to invest in Florida for consistent return and for a higher, a consistent return, and maybe a balanced out return on your investment when you sell. So each state has different advantages. Some might want multifamily. There's a whole plethora of issues that we need to address. What's your budget? How much capital do you need? Do you need a lender? So I'm trying to condense my 1-hour presentation into 10 minutes, but essentially the key is that you don't want to do this alone. And we, as a Torontonian myself, most Canadians like working with me because I speak Canadian, although I don't say A. And by the way, Tammy, when you said what's happened in the past week, so my son turned 13 and I closed on my new house. And there was something else big that happened, but it just got channeled into everything else. But this is a very big month, November. I also have my son's bar mitzvah in less than 2 weeks, which is like, oh my God, how did this happen? It was like months away. So it's a big month for us here in this home. And we would love to help you to get out of the snow as much as you so choose. So do you guys have questions? Thank you, Marcus.
What's the first stage someone should think about in terms of before they want to make that they're looking at that option about investing in the US market? Like, what's the thinking behind it?
Let me see if I can ask Allison to answer that question, because I have a feeling she's going to know. What's the first thing that Marcus should do if he wants to invest in the US, Allison?
The first thing I would suggest is knowledge. Like, find that education, and then once you've done that and you realize that is definitely what you want to do, you need to get an entity set up.
Okay. So I was hoping that she would, I didn't plant it, but I was hoping she would say, call Lauren, but that's pretty much. So,
Set up
I
your
did.
energy
I
structure.
called
I
Lauren.
should
I
have
was
said,
talking to Lauren.
Allison, remember this is, but I didn't, but at the end of the day, she's right. Knowledge is power. However, for each piece of accurate knowledge out there, there is inaccurate knowledge. And I'll give you a perfect example. In the fall, I went to a very large real estate investing portal event in Niagara Falls. They're mainly Canadian based, but they have a lot of cross-border investors. Allison, you know who I'm talking about. And I sat in this room, and there were several of my clients there. And this guy came on Zoom from California, telling all these Canadian investors that all they needed to do was partner with an American and set up an LLC. And I was like, oh my God. And he's telling these, like, there must have been, I don't know, 500 or 1,000, a lot of, I don't know, it was a big event. And I was like, you can't tell these Canadians that, because that's what they're going to think. The same problem is if you call a US accountant, because they don't give a what happens to you in Canada. And that's so important, because there is so much misinformation, especially for us as Canadians investing across the border, because you're dealing with like 10 times everything, right? So we have 30 million people in Canada, 300 million in America, 35, whatever the numbers are. It's always 10 times. And so you have to be so careful, because sometimes that knowledge that is power can also be so dangerous. It's like when you get a cut on your finger and you think you're going to lose your finger because that's what Google said, right? So just be careful with the knowledge and always verify. So, and
I just want to clarify what I was meaning by that. I was meaning find the knowledge for what state you want to be in. Is
right.
This what you want to do? Not the entity structure. Absolutely not. Like, I can help you out with the education in the States and what have you. Lauren can help you with the entity structure.
Yeah, it's really, it's, you need coaching. If you've never invested in the US before, coaching is important, because you don't want to just haphazardly say, oh, I want a single family home in Boca Raton, Florida. Yeah, not so much. That's not a great investment right now. I just made one, but I'm going to live there. Okay. So you want to think about your short and long-term goals. You want to leave a legacy for your kids. And the key in working with our team is that we're all about strategy, and it's a holistic approach. So if you just want to invest in the US, we can help you with that. However, I will tell you that I would say 1 out of every 2, so half of our clients that think that all they want to do is invest, eventually decide that they want a visa as well. So we set you up for that later success, because you want to make sure that you don't have to reinvent the wheel and redo whatever you did because you did it wrong. I had a guy come to me Monday. He said, oh, I have an LP set up, limited partnership as an LP in Ohio. And I said, and who did that for you? Oh, I did it online. Okay. And that's all you have? Yeah. But I have a bank account. So can I just invest? I'm like, oh boy. So the point is that you just have to be really careful. And like Allison said, just don't do it yourself to save a few bucks, because it's going to end up costing you a lot more.
So anyone have any other questions?
I do have a question. Oh,
just 1 moment. Sorry. Hi, how are you? You live near my brother, I remember.
I know. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
I just put in the chat a link. We have an event series. I don't think Allison has actually come to it yet, but we just started it about 3 weeks ago, because we could put all of our real estate programs kind of in one nice little bin, or nice little box. And so if anybody would like to join us, tomorrow we have one at 1 o'clock, where it's basically an information session. So you can feel free to ask your questions, and I can feel free to say I can't answer it because it's legal advice, but generally I answer most questions. So go ahead, Mikey.
Oh, first off, I want to say congratulations on your son's bar mitzvah coming up. Very, very exciting stuff. And the question I have, you said the first challenge you face is misinformation. What is the second challenge in your business that you're facing with potential clients or clients? Yeah, with the legal
I think
entity, that sort of stuff.
So sure. So for me, what we have to overcome with you is that first step, because people think that it's so big of a deal, such a big deal to either invest alone or to get a visa, or they think that they have to invest $1 million, or they have to do this, or they have to do that. And again, this is back to the misinformation, right? And the reality is that by working with us, we're going to take you by the hand and hold you like step by step through every step in the process, so that you don't miss a beat. Okay. Like last Thursday night at 10:30 p.m., I got an email that from a client. They were like, well, what's going on with this? And I was like, oh no, there's a problem. Well, by Friday at like 4, it was all resolved and fixed, and their interview was scheduled and everything like that. So you're not going to get that kind of customer service from, you know, from going online and setting up structures and whatever. And I'm not going to call you from Israel. Well, right now I'm not calling you from Israel, unfortunately, but I'm not going to call you from Israel if I can't help. You know, I'm there to help and facilitate the process. So I think the most important thing that anybody can do for themselves, as Tammy said, and it's not just legal advice, it's professional advice. Professional advice. Don't try to get wholesale deals from somebody that isn't a wholesaler. Like, just work with professionals that you know, like, and trust, and that come as a referral to you, or that you have checked out and have testimonials and success records. We have 100% success rate, and I will not take on a client. I had a client call me last week. They said, I have 60,000 to invest. I said, I'm sorry, I can't even help you. Like there's no way. You can't pay my fee and have anything. It's just not going to happen. And, you know, I'd rather turn a client away. And I said, here, I can give you to somebody that might be able to help you, but I can't, because we have to maintain this level of diligence and responsiveness. So.
Fantastic. You know, Lauren, I like the fact that you're from the GTA, so you personally had that experience. Now you're in Florida of the whole, you know, scenario, so you can really give
No, I didn't even tell you guys the best story, which I'll tell you in my 2 minutes I have left. So the reason that I do what I do, it's like crazy, it's in my book, is because my now ex-husband was deported on the way back from our honeymoon. And we went on our honeymoon to Thailand. And if it hadn't happened, I would probably not be doing what I do. And that is why my book is called Finding Your Silver Lining in the Business Immigration Process, because I found my silver lining through that divorce. And here, I'll still stick my book back up. And it's been, you know, smooth sailing ever since. But that was like something you would never, I mean, you can't make that up, right? It was like, and he was put in immigration jail, expeditiously removed, and then deported and barred from entry to the US. So, anybody have a story to top that one? No, I'm just kidding.